Hey everybody, we've got a fun one for you today because we are talking about the top 10 cheapest all-wheel drive cars
that aren't Subarus, because we live in Boulder, Colorado, which is likely Subaru capital USA. So these are some affordable all-wheel drive options for you if you don't want to lose your car in a parking lot.
Absolutely, and some of these cars are actually more affordable than Subaru options, so these vehicles are going to range between $27,000 all the way down to $24,000. It's a descending list of our top 10, starting with the more expensive versions and then ending with the most affordable all-wheel drive that's not a Subaru. And we're going to talk about some of the pros and the cons of each, talk about what you can expect to pay, and what is number 10 on the list.
Yeah, starting with number 10, which is the most expensive of our least expensive all-wheel drive cars, is the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross at $27,140, and that's including destination.
Right, and we tried to include destination in this list because that is a fee you're going to have to pay right when you go out and buy one of these vehicles, but it's worth noting for exact pricing, be sure to check with your dealer. But for under $28,000, you can get a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Now this comes standard with all-wheel control, AWD. It's actually a pretty fun little car. It's a vehicle that was introduced a number of years ago and then recently facelifted. I drove the facelift down in Florida, and I'm happy to say that yes, the interior is certainly far from the best in class. The styling is a little awkward, but it's actually quite a nice car to drive. Has some kind of sporty pretenses to it. It's a pretty good little car.
Yeah, and understandably, any vehicle that's going to be on this list, because it is affordable, they're not going to be necessarily the best in class when it comes to features, interior quality, but having that all-wheel drive period is just a nice feature to have.
And keep in mind, we're focusing on the base model versions of these cars. With all-wheel drive, of course, you can get them far more expensive. Now, number 9 on the list is the Honda HR-V, recently redone.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually had a chance to go see the car in the studio when it was first revealed, the design launch, and then we've since had an opportunity to actually test out the car and drive it. But the HR-V starts at $26,595. And Honda product, as of late, has made really big steps forward in interior quality. The exterior design is very obviously new. So this new generation of Honda product, even at the lower levels, the more affordable versions, come with a lot of features and a really pretty nice interior.
Now, I recently did a TFL slip test, so I run this test where we get various wheels stuck in rollers to test all-wheel drive systems, and I ran this car through that test not too long ago. It performed okay, like it's not designed to be a proper four-wheel drive, but it's plenty to get you through the snow and plenty to help kind of maximize traction on those wet and slippery and mucky days. And for under $27,000, you get a lot of quality, not a lot of straight line performance, but certainly a lot of quality and actually pretty decent standard features for a small amount of money.
Yeah, and now next on the list for number 8 is the Ford Maverick all-wheel drive. Now, of course, the base model of the Maverick is front-wheel drive with a hybrid powertrain. But if you go to the 2-liter turbo, then you can spec it in an all-wheel drive variant for $26,410, once again, including destination. And that's still a pretty decent deal.
It is, yeah. The fact you can get, a pretty usable little truck for $26,000 and some change. Very impressive. And of course, as you mentioned, turbocharged power with a conventional automatic transmission. Now this car, I think, I should say truck actually, this truck falls down a little bit once again on the interior quality. It definitely feels pretty bargain basement. But the fact that you can get a lot of payload capacity. I mean, we're talking close to like full-size truck payload capacity, a lot of interior volume, and of course all-wheel drive at this price point is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and they've also had some fun with the design of it. Even though the materials might not be the best, the design of the interior and the exterior at that are fun and make it just a more interesting car than most to be around, or truck, again, we should say.
Now, one last thing about that vehicle, I'd love to get and suggest the hybrid, because that's even better deal, but the hybrid is front-wheel drive only.
Yeah, and it would be really nice if they had an all-wheel drive option for the hybrid, because great fuel economy, obviously, from that powertrain, but if you want the all-wheel drive, you're going to have to go for the 2-liter turbo.
All right, next up, Chevy Trailblazer coming in at $25,395. This is actually one of my favorite vehicles. It's a vehicle assembled in Korea. 3-cylinder turbocharged power, and I love the little Trailblazer. You know, it's a vehicle I think that got people up in arms because they heard the word Trailblazer and they were expecting like the old one.
Yeah, which it's not.
Which it's not. No, this is a very small, affordable crossover versus a large family hauling vehicle. But I have taken versions of the Trailblazer off-road. It's an impressive little performer for what it is, especially if you pay a little more and get the active trim. It's actually really, really good. It's got some skid plates and some chunky tires. So the Trailblazer, probably one of my favorite cars on this list. A lot more affordable than like the next most rugged, which would be the Renegade, which is going to be close to 30. Yeah, love it. It's actually great. The engine's pretty smooth, and lots of volume. Pretty good interior technology for the price point too. Definitely recommend the Trailblazer. It's one of my favorites on the list. Hey y'all, we've got some really exciting vehicles up for auction this week over at TFLbids.com, including this 2022 Chevrolet Colorado ZR2 with a bunch of AEV upgrades. This thing looks fantastic. Check out TFLbids.com for more info on all these fantastic rides. Okay, number 6, what are we looking at?
The Toyota Corolla Cross, and that starts at $25,695 for an all-wheel drive model. Again, we're looking at still a very base vehicle, but you get a lot when you opt for a Toyota.
That's right. So you get all the built-in reliability that brand is known for, of course. You get Toyota Safety Sense, which is the full suite of semi-autonomous features, including adaptive cruise control, lane centering, lots of really good technology, considering that you're going to be paying $25 and some change for the all-wheel drive Corolla Cross. Now, they call this technically as like a crossover, right? The cross part. It's more of a lifted hatchback, as several other of these vehicles are.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to see a full review on this vehicle, we have a video on it. I believe it was Nathan that went on the program
I think so, yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these now that they're rolling out into dealerships in a big way. Of course, Toyota had the CHR, right? CHR, the Coupe High Rider. Interesting looking vehicle, but front wheel drive only. So now Toyota's entered that really small crossover game with all wheel drive in the Corolla Cross. And number 5 is also a Corolla, but a very different Corolla. This is actually the Sedan.
Yeah, so it's the Corolla all-wheel drive, not the Corolla Cross. So a standard Corolla, but with all-wheel drive at $25,295, which is really not a bad deal. Of course, this is the sedan model, not the hatch. But if you want the hatch, you can also opt for that. The hatch is just going to cost a bit extra.
Now here is why I'm so stoked about the standard Corolla. It's the first time, I think maybe ever, that you could get a Corolla sedan. It's the only sedan on the list, but first time you can get the Corolla sedan in all-wheel drive, and it comes only as a hybrid. So it's a hybrid all-wheel drive system where the front wheels are powered by gasoline and electricity. The rear wheels are powered only by electricity. But the cool thing about that is that you get close to like 50 mpg, if I remember correctly, with that hybrid system. It is such an impressive performer. Plus, you get Toyota Safety Sense. Plus, you get an enormous backseat. I just spent some time with this vehicle. I mean, you do get hubcaps on the base model. But if you can live with the hubcaps, it is such good value, and it will live such an affordable life in your care, right? Little maintenance, very good economy.
Plus, speaking of impressive performer, if you want a slightly more expensive Toyota Corolla all-wheel drive, there's another all-wheel drive model that's a hatchback, wide body, a pretty interesting offering from Toyota in the GR Corolla.
Yeah, if you want to just blow the budget and spend mid-30s before markups, the GR Corolla is, of course, very neat.
Yeah, but you can get into an all-wheel drive Corolla for a good bit less.
Yes, very true. Okay, next up on the list, the Hyundai Kona. Also one of my favorite vehicles. So this is the not the smallest Hyundai, that would be the Venue, but the Venue has front-wheel drive only. So this is the smallest all-wheel drive Hyundai SUV, but we're talking 24 and some change, just under $25,000 for this vehicle. It's a great performing vehicle. Looks pretty cool. There's a new one which my dad is about to go see as well, actually in Germany, and the current one is great. They just facelifted it. Lots of capability, lots of interior comfort for a small amount of money.
Yeah, very little complaints about this car, especially with the price point kept in mind. Hyundai has been knocking it out of the park with a lot of their product recently, and this is not an exception by any means.
Next up, beyond that, we've got the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. Now, this is not one of the highlights, I think, on the list. $24,495, so it's very affordable, but it's basically just basic transportation with a little bit of ground clearance.
It is, yeah. It's not the most stunning vehicle. It's not the most modern, but again, we're getting down to the bottom of this list, which is the most affordable. So as you go further down this list, you're going to more or less, start to make
Sacrifices, yeah. But it is a good performing vehicle if you just want a simple commuter. Next up, with actually some driving pleasure, the Mazda CX-30 coming in at $24,200-ish, and the CX-30 with all-wheel drive, the base engine, is one of the best handling cars on the list. So it's got a lot of kind of dynamic driving characters. The way it handles, the way it hugs the turns is very sporty and very fun.
Yeah, Mazda does a generally phenomenal job of having good driving dynamics in their cars. Whether it's a hatchback or a Miata or an SUV, they're generally, it feels to me like they drive better than most of their competition.
Not the most standard safety tech. If you want, like the adaptive cruise and the lane centering, I'd look elsewhere, but at least at the base price. But for 24 and some change, it's a heck of a car. And the most affordable car on the list is the Kia Seltos.
Yeah, for number 1, that position, $24,135 MSRP for an all-wheel drive Kia Seltos, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's Kia Seltos, sister car to the Hyundai Kona, a little bit more angular, a little bit more kind of spunky in the design department. You can get in all sorts of weird colors, like there's a bright yellow, which looks pretty cool. But the Seltos offers a lot of space for the price. It offers a lot of versatility, and for 24 and some change, it really is a good value. But case of all the cars we talked about today, which one would you be taking home?
I would probably be between the Maverick all-wheel drive and the Kona. Two very different types of vehicles on this list, but both with some pretty big pros and cons between them.
Now, for me, it would be the Toyota Corolla Sedan, the all-wheel drive one. Just the fact that you can get a hybrid for $25,000 and all-wheel drive makes it a heck of a value. And then I think second up would be either the Maverick or the Trailblazer. The Maverick is a heck of a deal considering it's a truck for under $27,000, and the Trailblazer is going to be the most capable on this list.
Absolutely. And, it's not to say that we went through this whole list. Obviously, Subarus are also affordable, good on fuel. Another good option for all-wheel drive, but it's kind of a lot of times people's go-to when they're looking for an inexpensive, economical all-wheel drive car. So these are just some alternatives if you want to branch out and try something different. You do have options, believe it or not.
A lot of options. Not the 80s anymore, folks. Well, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Tommy.
And Case.
We'll see you on another TFL car video.